Howdy folks, my name's Christian and welcome to Bullish on Farming. Today is November 23rd and I'm just visiting our two gilts. These are the last two gilts we have on the farm for our forest raised pork system. And they were moved into here about a week and a half ago, and this is what we got left. This paddock was fully green and it was a well-rested paddock over 70 days that gets great solar energy down to the soil level and grows out great grass and weeds for our pigs. And our pigs love to eat weeds, and they love to forage, and they love to dig, and they love to express the pigness of a pig. And you can see right now that's a little bit of play fighting. These girls are both I think the one who looks more Berkshire with the white face is about 280 pounds, while that smaller one might be about 270. And they're both a Berkshire Tamworth cross. And you can see that the ground's still kind of frozen, but it is softening up, and they're going to work in areas that they can do. And they're doing work on the trees, and they're breaking down the branches they can reach and bringing all the bristle down to the ground floor. And I had been moving away some of the trees that I had chained down in the previous paddocks over there, and just moving the brush out of the paddocks, clearing them up. And we'll probably do some more clearing in the spring before, you know, these paddocks really grow out and express themselves for first pass when we get weaners around late April. And so, you know, when things were getting down to -10, this stock tank wasn't too reliable for the waterer. And so all we did for that was bring out some buckets of water, and we filled one of the feeders that we have bolted down to a piece of plywood here, just with water, which has some ice chunks in it now. And the other one is actually hog grower feed mixed with fermented scratch grain. And just from the water that the grain is fermented in, as well as some of the snow that's probably melted into water now, there's a lot of moisture in there. And with all the moisture on the ground and with the snow, their water consumption really goes down quite a bit. I haven't filled water up in about 5 days. It seemed that they were getting everything that they needed and topping up this waterer. I mean, they drank some last night, but I didn't have to top that up for 5 days. It was full every day I came in. And I just placed down a little bit of straw here for some bedding for the girls, because things are getting wet. And although I'm sure they're fine, you know, over 250 pounds, they got plenty of fat and lard to keep them warm. It's just nice to give them some bedding, and I'll probably top that up again because it looked like it's gotten a bit wet. Speaking of moving something, this feeder's got to move, and I'm going to move that to an area that looks a little bit more fresh, because I mentioned in previous videos, you know, you keep the water sitting around in the same place that's a high traffic area. It's one of your more higher risk areas for bacteria development. So something simple you can do with that is, if you have a temporary, easy to replace, easy to fix setup, you just move your feeders around the paddock. Oh, this one's actually quite heavy with the grain and the water in it. And you get your animals to be spending time in fresher areas. Something a little bit like that. And you know, it's just one of the preventative measures you could use that's a little bit more grunt work. But if you really stay on top of it, you know, you're avoiding all type of parasite or worming altogether. We've dealt with virtually none of that this year. And, you know, sometimes during the busy season, you can't always move a feed tub when you want to, or a mineral tub. Well, you can, but you're just on the go and you forget to, or you just do it a day or two later than you usually would. That's okay. But if you're in the habit of moving these feeders, and you can notice that I put this water trough over on a tree in the middle of the paddock. I don't usually do that. It's usually on the closest edge because our hose comes from over there. But because I was hauling buckets out to this stock tank, I said, well, let me just strap it on a tree in the middle section that's nice and fresh, and you know, help gravitate the pigs to spend time there, and I'll just drop buckets of water in it there. And that's just one of the benefits of having a very flexible, easy to move system. Now, it's nothing to brag about, folks. It's 2 tensile wire on the outside. First wire 6 inches, second wire at 12. I think that first wire is 6 to 8 inches, and then I think that second wire is 12 to 15, because I did kind of do a little bit of finessing with the wires as the pigs got bigger. But you know, I'm not even sure that you would have to do that. That's just something I chose to do. And yeah, it's just, in our case, steel posts with plastic insulators that, you know, and using trees to anchor the corners gives us the whole perimeter for our 6 paddock forest raised pork system. And it's all spread out about over 1.5 acres. And we ran 8 gilts in here. And so we finished 8 pork. We will when these 2 go off. In a 6 paddock forest raised pork system, which had a very low overhead cost to build. It was essentially one 250-pound roll of 12.5 gauge galvanized high tensile wire, and probably insulators that amounts to about, I don't know, let's just call it $100 for all of them, and maybe 150. And then the steel posts, which we already had 1 billion on the farm, so we just used those. And you might have a different type of post that you can use, but you can always use screw-in insulators on the trees that we did do in some cases. You usually want to use a nice strong tree, not like this. But you can kind of see the insulators I'm talking about. I love using those things, and in these forest raised systems, they're really your friend. You can see I just use posts that are about 3 feet apart the whole way, and that keeps a nice sturdy separation on the wire. And then you just kind of tension up that wire with the wire tensioner. And that's what we plan on doing over here when we want to expand our pork production, which is really exciting. And you know, we're going to need the space if we want to get into a year-round sow operation, to be able to keep the animals on the move and have fresh paddocks stockpiled for the winter seasons, getting ready to give litters in the spring. Well, at least I think that's how I do it. Spring litters and farrow right on pasture. And you know, when you're not dealing with the pig barn, you're not dealing with the pigsty, because a pig barn is a place for, you know, if you don't have good waste management, for waste to accumulate and to start spawning a bunch of problems you wouldn't have if your animals were just moving properly on the land. And so I'm not talking about, you know, an enclosure for the pigs to spend their time that's easy for you to muck out. But if you have a barn where the pigs are spending all of their time, that's you better be staying on top of the waste management, because it'll start getting on top of you, if you know what I mean. And so yeah, you know, what do we got? 2 weeks left for these girls on the farm. This is how they're living. November 23rd. I think we have a good amount here to offer them until they say their farewells and we close out our growing season for pork. Just very grateful to have grass at this time of year and have the animals on the land, and for the land to be ready to accommodate them. God bless. We do it for the love of the game here, baby. So I'd like to say thanks for stopping by, and God bless y'all. We'll see you on the next one.